Just lighting the sage. I got a lot to smudge today. I know it's been chaos. The last 2 weeks is kind of like got this what the fuck vibe going on. So this is one of the reasons why everybody was like, are you going to come on? Like, even though you got home like really late last night, I was like, yeah, I need to talk to my peoples. I've missed you guys. I could have given it till Monday, but I'm like, no, I'm going to hang out. Because honestly, it's been crazy. It has been complete insanity the last 2 weeks. And I know some of you are kind of feeling a little traumatized about some of the shit that's happened. So I thought I would come on here and hold space. Adriana's watching, so maybe we can get Zach to do some clearings for us this morning. I know you're probably a bit tired too, Zach. But maybe since Adriana's hanging out right now, we can get so if you would like the guy to do a clearing today, just say so in the comments. And maybe we can get some of my spirit team to help us out and clear some of the bad juju out of the space. Thank you very much to all of my team, because I know you guys have been, it's been a crazy couple weeks. I don't even know where to begin. Don't even know where to begin. It's been crazy. Adriana says, no problem. Zach is happy to help. Thank you, Zach. See, I was hoping today. Yes, so if you would like a clearing, just say so in the comments. Write in the comments, yes, I would love a clearing. And we'll ask the guys to clear any beasties that might be eavesdropping on our conversation this morning. Get all those fuckers out of here. See, lots of triggers, exactly. I unfortunately got to witness both of the traumatic events that were recorded over the past week. Unintentionally. The first one, I didn't even know what it was. I just watch things. Like, this is one of the things I'm going to stop doing, is just watching things on the internet. It's just been one thing after another with the collective right now, with the amount of trauma that people are experiencing. So yes, lots of you, I imagine, need a clearing. So many thanks to our wonderful Salation friends for just checking everybody and seeing if we can get as much of these fuckers out of here as possible. Jessica says she's been heavy crying this week. I know, honey. It's been really rough, especially after seeing those things. Like, I can't even begin to imagine how much the collective is actually hurting right now. That one girl on the train. Don't worry. We're going to take care of that. I don't want to give too much information because, as you know, it's kind of better not to say what we're going to do before we do it. But a lot of people have been seeing things by autoplay. And to be honest, like, I'm pissed. I'm still kind of pissed about it. I turned off autoplay, but you still don't even know what you're going to watch. Like, videos, you're like, oh, what's this? Click. Oh, wow, I just watched somebody get murdered. And we used to have warnings for these things. Like, there were videos that have been like this for a long time. They called it Faces of Death. And back in my early 20s, this is what people kind of like shared around. Like, hey, look at this crazy shit, you know? And that hasn't really changed. People still are drawn to things like car wrecks, for example, you know? But some people have been really kind of horrible about it. One of my colleagues said she was at work and was like, and somebody was like, hey, did you see that thing? And she's like, huh? And he's like, here, look. And he showed it to her. And she's like, oh my God. Like, people just shoving it in your face. And I'm hoping that it will. I don't usually approve of censorship, but these are not the sort of things that we should be seeing. These are not the sort of things that we should be storing in our permanent memory, if you know what I mean. It's one thing to know about a tragedy, but to witness it compiles the trauma and makes it so much worse. So, and exactly, Victoria. Victoria said also people celebrating when someone gets murdered. That's triggered me quite a bit too. Like, I don't give a rat's ass what your beliefs are. Nobody deserves to be publicly executed, especially in front of their family. Like, so I actually said something to my mom about it this morning. My mom's like, oh, I've given up the news. Like, I can't even watch anything. She's like, I'm giving up social media too. Like, my mom was traumatized by this, and she watched the video and just was sobbing uncontrollably. And it's gut wrenching. It really is. So thank you. If you have not been sharing those videos, I would just like to say thank you for not being part of the problem, because these things should not be shared online. People should be respecting their families and I couldn't imagine if I saw somebody that I loved being hurt in that way. Just, ugh. So anyway, trying to change the subject, but this is why I wanted to ask you guys today how you're all doing. This is why I made sure to come on today, just to give you guys some loving. And also to see if possibly my team was able to do some clearing. So mwah, to my Salation friends and to all the other guides that are doing clearings on our group today. Does anybody have any questions about anything before I get into my long drawn out story of the craziest 2 weeks that I've had in a very, very long time? I was just texting with Angelica before the chat, and Siddhartha, I saw Siddhartha quite a few times while I was traveling. He would just pop in, and I kept seeing 108, and I'm like, I feel like Siddhartha's in France with me. And sure enough, I checked with Angelica, and she said, yes, he was with you. He was on the adventure as well. So I'm very honored to, honestly, I just feel so blessed to have such wonderful friends who are looking out for me. Because it was a crazy ride, you guys. Absolutely crazy. Roya says, Lara, can't wait to get our clearing. Yes, I have, I've had, I don't know what it is, word of mouth getting out. But I have 170 pending bookings right now. Some days people are booking like 20 clearings in a day. I had 5 emergencies come in on September 9th, 9/9. I had 5 people book emergencies, and some of them booked family clearings, which take me over 2 hours. So I'm so behind in clearings, and I just want to say thank you all so much for your understanding and your patience right now as I am desperately trying to catch up. I have my mediums on my schedule. We're going to be doing double up cases each day. So I'm going to be doing clearings probably 12 hours a day for the next 2 months to fully catch up. So yeah, this is the thing, you know, as the collective starts to purge and heal and release things, there's a lot of stuff that's coming up right now. So right now, my bookings are about 5 weeks behind. So just be aware that if you're at the 5-week mark, you're coming up on my list. Okay. So my apologies. Normally I keep it between 2 and 4 weeks, but the last few weeks have been absolutely insane. And I'm not even just talking about for myself, but just for the collective in total. It's just been almost too much. It's funny how we're all like, come on, let's go with the shift. And then we're like, okay, slow down. This is too much. Okay. Oh, Kat's doing some healing as well. Love you, Kat. Thank you. Oh, so grateful for my team. You're so wonderful. So I'm just trying to catch up with the comments here. Well, so I might as well get, let me pour some tea here before I dish out the other tea. This is I'm drinking, this is berries and hibiscus and rosehip tea that I've been making in my fancy jug. So when I went to France, the first person I wonderfully got to hang out with was Sephora. So, as many of you know, my wonderful friend Sephora invited me to come to Amboise, just is like about 2 hours outside of Paris. And I stayed in Amboise for 3 days. And Sephora and I were just kind of traveling around, getting to do some fun stuff, hanging out. It's wonderful to hang out with her and her daughter. And Sephora offered to do a healing on me. And Sephora, for those of you who have had a healing session with Sephora, even just on Zoom, you know how incredible she is. Like, there's just something I can literally feel. It feels like hundreds of little electric fingers kind of working their way around my etheric field. So when she offered to do one on me in person, I was like, oh, yes, thank you. Would love that. So Sephora, she did a healing on me, and I started seeing visions. I saw some things that it was very difficult for me to explain. When she got to my heart chakra, I actually felt like a snap. It was kind of like, you know, when you rub your hands together and you touch somebody and you're like, ah, you know, you get like a little electric shock. That's what I felt in my heart chakra. And I'm like, what is going on? So I saw in my head, I saw a heart. And in the heart, there was like a thorns going around the wide side of the heart, like a crown of thorns going around the heart. and it had like wings attached to it. And I was like, interesting. So as I'm kind of seeing it in my mind's eye, I see the heart start to grow roses, like from the thorns, like roses started. I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, so I'm closing my eyes. So I'm trying to describe it, and I see roses growing out of the thorns, and I was like, well, this is interesting. And I was like, what? That's weird. So I said something to Sephora about it, and she's like, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that symbol before. So I was walking with her down through town, and I look over, and there's a shop that had a big heart. And on the heart, it had the crown, it had the thorns. And I was like, oh my God, Sephora. And I looked at her and I said, hey, look at the sign. And as I look back, the sign changed again. It was a completely different sign. All it was a heart with something else on it. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I swear to God, I just saw it clear as day. Like, I feel like the Matrix is messing with me because I'm like, what is happening here? I just saw it and now I don't see it. So anyway, a couple days later, I go to Rennes-le-Château, which is in southern France. So for those of you who don't know, Rennes-le-Château is one of these, it was mentioned in the Da Vinci Code, so people kind of know all about it now, but it used to be a very kind of secret place. And so this place has, it's a hill in the middle of southern France, a very tall hill. And as you go a big circle around the hill, you get to the top and there's a medieval village on the top. So there is a church of Mary Magdalene and a whole bunch of stuff on top of the church, as well as a Merovingian castle and a whole bunch of interesting things. A very dear friend of mine has a house up there. So I go to Rennes-le-Château as much as possible because it's just somewhere that I felt a very deep connection. So as we're walking around, I see, I go into the old house that they had there, and I see 3 symbols in the house. That's one of the symbols. I'm like, whoa, see the heart with the thorns. And then there's like a sword, and then there's flames coming out of it. So then I look over and look at that. That was the symbol next to it. And I'm like, interesting. That's very similar to what I found, like what I saw in my vision. So I was still kind of like confused and wondering what was going on. So as you guys know, sometimes when I have clearings to do, I'm able to ask my soul guides certain questions. So I was asking them, I'm like, what's up with the symbol? Like, what is this? And they said it is in connection to your past life as a Templar. And I was like, ooh, do tell, please. And they were like, yes, you are, as I already knew this anyway, because I've had dreams where I was in a sword fight and then I got stabbed in the right shoulder. And so I was wondering, like, I said something about it. I'm like, was this the lifetime that I got stabbed in the right shoulder? And they were like, yeah, it is. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, so what's the association with me being a Knights Templar and with the symbol? And they said, well, you were protecting the symbol. The symbol had a lot of information. There was a lot of knowledge being passed, not only with the symbol, but just through the artifacts and the things that you were guarding and so much more. And they said that there was a vision of me standing in Rennes-le-Château in a line with other Templars. And we were kind of like kneeling. We were kneeling and honoring the space. And they even told me a story about how there were like 7 of us Knights Templar that were, we died in battle together. And one of them ended up being a very close friend of mine. So my friend Toby, who I've known for about 13 years, an older gentleman, a very good friend of mine who passed away 2 years ago. He was one of the Templar that died in battle with me. So all of these flashbacks start coming back to me, and I started to remember bits and pieces of what I experienced, especially as I started to go through a guided meditation. So we decided we were going to go to this place called Montségur, which is the last Templar stronghold. So as we go there to kind of check out this location, I got really sick. Like, I felt so ill. It's hard to put it into words. I don't know what it was, whether I was releasing things or what, but I wasn't able to even climb to the top. As soon as I even got to the mountain, I got really sick. So I got really emotional too, and it was quite a lot for me. So I decided to stay on the base, and I just did some meditations because I found out that it's kind of in the area where I died anyway. Oh, 108 people watching. Hi, Siddhartha. So as I'm kind of doing this meditation, I started to get flashbacks, and I started to see the symbol again, and it got me really emotional. And so I wanted to do a bit more digging. So anyway, there were 3 lifetimes that I was working to heal while I was in France. The first lifetime happened when I was a nun, where they forced me into a nunnery. And I lost my daughter in that lifetime. It was very traumatic for me. The second lifetime is when I was a Cathar, and we were expelled from a place called Carcassonne, which is a walled medieval city in southern France. And that was extremely traumatic, not just for myself, but for Kat, if you don't mind me saying so, Kat and I have shared trauma in Carcassonne. I must say Kat's was worse. I'm not going to go into that too much. If Kat wants to discuss it someday on the podcast, we can. But I thought my expulsion was traumatic. Kat's was even worse. So she and I were doing some healing on that, and we were trying to, just kind of go through the different layers. Oh, Kat says it's okay. If you don't mind me saying it, then are you sure? I'm gonna double check on this one. You sure you want me to tell them what happened? So I'm just double checking. There were 300 of us that were kicked out of Carcassonne. It's a long story, but the Vatican there were over 1 million Cathars, and we were systematically wiped out one by one. Like, they went through every region where there were Cathars. And so for those of you who don't know what a Cathar is, Cathar people are a different sect of Christianity, kind of like Presbyterian in a way. You know how they cause little splits in Christianity? So the Cathars believed in equality, not just between races, but between genders. They considered women to be equals. And they also disavowed materialism. Like, they said, you don't need to reach God in a church. You can talk to God absolutely anywhere. You don't have to do it from some glitzy church, So there was a lot of things that they disagreed with about the Vatican, and they had no problem. They had no issue with discussing these things and telling everybody the difference in opinions that they had. Well, as many of you know, the Catholic Church doesn't appreciate that very much. So there were a couple little things that happened, and then they basically amassed an army of 20,000 crusaders. And those 20,000 crusaders went all over France and Germany and Spain, executing people that were Cathar. When I say executing, I mean they tortured them to death or set them on fire. They would build huge pyres in the middle of towns and just chase people into the flames. So anyway, there was one town especially where they killed 20,000 Cathars. So, and they slaughtered them down to the last man, woman, and child. In fact, they even killed the Catholics that were protecting them. And they said something like, kill them all, God will know their own. God will know his own. So we have been traveling around France, crossing over lost souls, crossing over Cathars, crossing over Templars, crossing over everybody we could we could find, really. Every time we cross the cemetery, Kat would be like, get him, guys. So every cemetery we crossed, every church we went to, we crossed over every lost soul we could find. We crossed over, I guarantee you, it was over 30,000 souls in the 2 weeks that we were there. There's probably more than that. And I just wanted to say thank you very much to the greeters, to the soul guides that take these lost souls and process them and help them get to the healing places that they are required to go to. I just want to say thank you so much to the team, because I'm sure they're all exhausted and working overtime. Zach was making some jokes about how they're definitely hiring right now. So we changed the vibration of France. I can guarantee it. We even went into Spain and did clearings in Spain. Still 108 people watching. Mwah, love you, Siddhartha. So when I say it was an exhausting but amazing 2 weeks, I'm not even kidding. So Anyway, we were in Carcassonne, and Kat and I were going through the castle and going through some stuff there, and it was intense. When I say it was intense, I mean when you go to a place that you were able to kind of link into your past self, all these emotions rise to the surface, and you just feel like, holy shit, what a ride. It's like being on a roller coaster, right? Because you go into a place and you have all these emotions unfolding, and you don't even know what you're feeling. You don't even know why you're feeling what you're feeling. We asked Adriana to go into our Akashic records to find out more about some of the places that we went to get an understanding of why we were feeling certain emotions. So the first lifetime we learned about was the one in Carcassonne. I found out I was a 14-year-old boy when I was expelled from Carcassonne. Kat and I were neighbors. I'm gonna sugarcoat this a little bit because I don't want to go into the raw details, but Kat was pregnant at the time. And Kat was heavily pregnant when they expelled us from Carcassonne. They stripped us naked. They forced the last remaining 300 Cathars in the city to strip naked and crawl. They called it penitence, but they made us crawl on our hands and knees as we were forced out of France. So the border, the old border of Spain and France, used to be only about 10 miles from Carcassonne. So they forced us to crawl that 10 miles on our knees and our hands. And it was a trail of blood that we left behind. And not only that, Kat being pregnant, they beat her because she wasn't walking fast enough. And she ended up perishing along with her child on the walk. And I won't go into the raw detail of that because that's just saying that enough. As you guys can probably imagine, it was absolutely horrific what they did to her, what they did to all of us. And so Kat had to kind of, hear that again. And it brought up some very raw emotions, and it was very triggering for the both of us. But having a friend that went through something similar, especially because we knew each other as neighbors, it was kind of like a shared trauma that we were both able to help heal each other. And so I just wanted to say, Kat, I love you so much. Thank you for being with me during this journey because there's so many layers of healing, and I didn't even understand my whole life I've been angry with the church, my whole life. And then I find out I had 3 traumas just in France alone that were involving all of this. So anyway, all of this happened. The expulsion of the Cathars from France took over about 30 to 40 years. So this was not a slow thing. Like, this was a systematic genocide that went on for generations, okay? And as that went through the steps as it did, we were killed down to the last man, woman, and child. All the Cathars, 1 million of us were wiped out. So the last remaining stronghold of the Cathar faith was Montségur, which was a castle that was occupied by the Knights Templar. And there were about 20,000 Knights Templar over the course of about 500 years. So just to give you a perspective, there were quite a lot of us Knights Templar back in the day. So the last stronghold for the Cathars and the Knights Templar. So the Knights Templar were kind of like the soldiers, whereas the Cathars were the civilians, if you get what I mean. But they had shared beliefs, right? Especially about equality and freedom of religion, freedom of belief, so much more. So we decided, we were going to have a ceremony on Montségur to honor the people that were there. So there was an 11-month siege that happened at Montségur, at this castle. And it's a long story about how they eventually got in. It was involving a betrayal with one of the locals who told them the secret way into the castle. So they ended up killing all the Knights Templar in the castle, and the last 244 remaining Cathar people who were hiding in the castle, along with the Knights Templar, were thrown on a pyre together. In fact, they built a huge pyre and they walked into the flames willingly. And that was how the Cathar faith ended. I found out that I died in battle on Montségur. That's that lifetime where I had been stabbed in the right shoulder. That is when I died as a Templar. And my friend Toby, my beloved friend Toby, who passed away 2 years ago, he died in battle with me. So this kind of explained a huge amount of why certain visions and dreams that I've had. It kind of put a whole lot of puzzle pieces together. Kat says, tell them about the healing rain. Yes, as soon as we finished the ceremony, we had rain that fell, and it was just beautiful. After we were walking out of Carcassonne, it started raining buckets. And instead of like hiding from the rain, we were like, like walking out of the castle. I haven't been that soaked in a while, but that was good fun. So just going back to that place, though, it was like, I even said to Kat, I was like, look, we're leaving of our own volition this time. We're choosing to leave, not the other way around. So it was something. So we went and had a beautiful time at Montségur. And like I said, though, I felt a little ill as I got to the mountain, knowing all of this, and we had actually gone in and crossed over everybody. We went and checked Montségur the night before. So we found Knights Templar that were still in battle, still in death loops. So I was able to help some of my brothers cross over. And then we went and found the 244 that had been burned on the pyre, and we crossed them over. So that was a beautiful experience. I felt very grateful to the team for that. So we had a beautiful ceremony at what we call the Isis chair. It's not far from Rennes-le-Château, which is that place where I told you about with the Merovingian castle and the the Mary Magdalene Church. So I asked I asked Adriana about why I feel so connected to Rennes-le-Château. And she says, well, you've been here before. You were, guarding relics, and you were guarding the knowledge that was contained with the symbol. And you have been to Rennes-le-Château as a Knights Templar many times. In fact, I even see you. She says, I see you kneeling in front of the altar, or in front of the church, or somewhere. I was kneeling at the top of Rennes-le-Château with other Templars all in a line. And we were reciting things in Latin. And it was as she's explaining all this to me, I felt very emotional. So we go back to Rennes-le-Château on our last night. So we had a beautiful ceremony in the Isis chair where we were calling in healing and, and doing all this healing work on ourselves. But we decided to do a last minute, one of our friends, a friend named Angelique, who I'm hoping to bring on the podcast very soon so she can meet Angelique. I'm telling you, she's like an angel in human form, like our Carolyn is. So Angelique, as we were it's a long story, but she has a sacred place in her home. I don't want to go too much into detail, but it's a sacred space inside her home that has been there for a very, very long time. So we gathered around this sacred space in Rennes-le-Château. There were 4 of us doing the healing, and Angelique would stand around us, and she was doing healing work on us. Woo! It was the most intense healing I think I have ever received in my life. I don't know what it is, but I started shaking, like my body started shaking. Yes, Jessica, good memory. Exactly. Yes, she has the glass floor. So as we're standing around it, it's getting me emotional just talking about it. Whew! I'm not going to start crying again, because holy shit. Each one of us started to see something profound as we're standing on that glass floor. And as she's working on us, she spent like 30 minutes going over us and doing things and just healing us, right? And as I'm standing there, I feel like this tingling, buzzing sensation going all over my body. And in my mind's eye, I see Angelique. She has like these angel wings that come out, and they start like moving as she breathes, right? And I could see these wings like moving. And they were beautiful. Like they were pure white with gold tips. Anyway, I could see so much detail. And as she's working on us, like I start crying because I can sense this. I feel the healing. And I'm like, holy cow. So as she's saying this, I see Toby, my friend. Woo, this is going to get me going again. I see Toby standing behind her in full Knights Templar regalia. Like, he had the suit of armor on. The only thing he wasn't wearing was a helmet, so I could see his face. He had He had the white robes that went over the armor with the big red cross, the red cross that looks like that. And he had a cape with the big red cross on the back. And as I see him, he's standing there with his sword like this. And as I see Toby, I see a line of Templars appear in a circle around me. And the Templars all kneeled around me in a circle with their swords. And they started saying something in Latin. I couldn't remember what it was or what I was hearing. And the Knights Templar were circled around me with their swords, and they were honoring me and saying, "Welcome home, brother." Woo! I started sobbing like uncontrollably. And I could barely even get the words out from what I was seeing. And I said something to my friend Amy. I love you, Amy. She's listening right now. And Amy said, "I see them in a circle around you doing this." And I didn't even get a chance to get the words out to say what I had saw because I was so emotional. So I look at Amy and I was like, oh my God, you see the same thing that I see. So Amy validated that what I was seeing was real. And that my Knights Templar brothers were there helping me to heal and honoring me. And it's a long story, but my friend Gerda, as we were doing a healing ceremony around the garden, she gave me Toby's Knights Templar sword. Toby he's in the Knights Templars, right? Even in modern day, Knights Templars still exist. So him and his beloved wife, Gerda, they're both still Knights Templars to this day. And Gerda handed me Toby's sword while we were doing the healing ceremony in her backyard a few hours before. So I got to hold an authentic Templar sword while we were doing the healing ceremony. And I can't even begin to describe how I felt. And the layers of healing that I experienced through that. And so that's 3 traumas in one lifetime that I was working to heal while I was in France. And all 3 of those severe traumas are linked to the church. Which goes to show why I've had a chip on my shoulder my whole fucking life in regards to the church. So I must say, like, that was the most profound, most beautiful experience I've ever had. And I'm just so grateful that I had validation that I didn't make it up either. So when you go to a place like that to re-experience these things, you know, you have so many layers that rise to the surface. Oh, Kat, she says, "Kat, you're gonna make me cry." She goes, "You were glowing while holding that sword." Oh, thank you, Kat. So I feel like a completely different person. And it's funny because as I mentioned at the beginning of this chat, I spoke with Angelica. And Siddhartha said, "We see growth from this experience in you. This was not an ordinary experience, but it extended into your life path because you remembered." So right before the podcast, right today, I started crying reading Angelica's message. I'm like, I knew you were with me, Siddhartha, and I could feel you were with me. So thank you for being there with me. But I am so blown away by the layers of healing that I went through. And I said something to Zach last night because I'm sitting down with Adriana to do clerics. And I was like, "Zach, I've missed you, blah, blah, blah." And we were chatting. And he goes, and I said, "Yeah, something about France." And he goes, "Yeah, you were digging up dead bodies in France." And I was like, it's a good way of putting it. Digging up my own dead bodies in a way. And he's like, "Well, you know, you don't have to go and re-experience those things in order to heal. You could just forgive." And I'm like, "No, I'm too curious for that. I want to know what I'm forgiving. I don't want to just forgive. I want to remember so that I can choose whether or not I actually truly forgive or not." And so I'm very, like I say, I feel like a completely different person. And yeah, I was totally digging up dead bodies. Zach is right. He's like, "You humans." And I'm like, "Well, it's easy for you to say, Zach, because you remember all your lifetimes. We got to go and dig out shit from our closets to understand what we've actually been through and why we are the way we are." So he's like, well, you don't have to re-trigger trauma in order to heal. And yet, you know what it reminds me of? This is a good analogy for me. You ever like break a finger, right? But then you don't go to the doctor and then it doesn't heal properly, right? So you constantly have pain in your finger and you can't use your finger very well because it didn't heal correctly, right? So what do? You go to the doctor and they say, well, shit, we're going to have to re-break it so we can fix it the right way. That's kind of what happened with my heart. It's kind of like I had pain in my heart and I didn't know why because things didn't heal properly. So I had to go back to the place where the trauma occurred. I had to re-break my own heart in a way and re-experience what I experienced in that past. So that way this time I can heal it properly. And that's kind of how it feels like that's pretty much exactly what happened. Is I went through so many different layers of heartbreak and just learning what I experienced, and not just what I experienced, but the people that I love experience. There are people in France that I feel deeply connected to, and there are people that came with me to France that I feel very deeply connected to. And to know that they suffered was almost worse than finding out about my own suffering because I love them so much. So there, like I said, there are so many different layers in healing, and I am just so profoundly grateful for everything that I experienced while I was away. Because like I said, I love this person that I'm building, that I'm creating within myself. And I feel like a lot of this keeps me humble. It keeps me focused on what's truly important. And it keeps me from, getting my head in the clouds, so to speak. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Aaron Siniva for lighting a fire under my ass to get me back to France. I would love to thank Zipporah for starting everything out for me. After I went for that healing with Zipporah, all the floodgates opened, so to speak. She opened up all the dams, all the walls that I had put down to protect myself so I didn't feel anything. I had been numb for months, you guys. It's almost like if you open the door, you have to let everything rush in. And so I locked the door. I was like, no, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel nothing. So then as soon as Zipporah started releasing those layers and those walls that I had built up, all the feels came flooding in. And I've had so much emotion pouring through me that I don't even, there's no way I could even put it into words. So I'm just very grateful. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who came with us to France. And I really wish that 2 weeks felt like 5 days. We had such a great time. And there are so many of you that I feel deeply connected to. Pretty much everybody we spent time with in France. I felt like we had like a soul connection from the past it was like a reunion is what it felt like more than, yeah, you meet people for the first time, but it did not feel like we were meeting for the first time, if you know what I mean. And I just wanted to say that I love you guys. And for those of you who, would like to come on a journey with us and have one of these experiences, I am so looking forward to it. Because there's so many different things that we accomplish in regards to healing. And holy cow, my ear is ringing really loudly. It just, who dat? That wasn't a Shiva ring. That was a different ring. Somebody else is visiting right now. Hello. Either that or my higher self is like, wee. That's what it sounds like in my ear. Ray says, I learned that there is nothing to forgive, only to have loving compassion for each other, because we're just acting from the level of consciousness that we're at the time that we do these things. We're all learning as we go. Nobody truly knows exactly what we're doing until we're doing it and learn. Well said. It's funny, Kat. Thank you for the validation. I thought of Yeshua right as my ears started ringing. So that was Yeshua. Thank you, Yeshua. Oh my goodness. Wow. Vicky said we're connected with the red thread. Beautifully said, my sister. Love you. All of you guys, the people that we spent time with, I could literally like live in a commune with you guys. Like, I feel like I didn't get to know them well enough. It's kind of a bummer, even though 2 weeks was kind of a long time for you guys. It felt such a short period for us. And I feel like I didn't get to know the people who came on the retreat as much as I would have loved to. So you guys will have to come again to the next one. And yes, we are going to do a retreat in the UK as well. We're going to go to Greece. They've got so many different places that we're planning on visiting. Jessica said, oh my God, he popped into mine too. See? So there we go. Thank you for the further validation. That was Yeshua giving me a little ring-a-ding-a-ding. Thank you, Yeshua. Love you. Elka says, you're coming over to my house. I would love that. Gail. Oh, hi, Gail. She says, you are emitting such a beautiful light today, Lara. Thank you. I don't know how, considering I'm so exhausted from travel, but thank you, Gail. Like I said, I feel like a completely different person, you guys. Isn't that amazing how you go through different layers of healing and you come out the other side? Like, I feel like I've gone through a gauntlet. Like, but at the same time, like, I feel revigorated. I feel refreshed and renewed, and like my fire has gotten big and bright, if you know what I mean. So I feel like my fire is burning strong now. It's giving me some more initiative to keep going. So Elka says, I have a calling to go to France, or so to Greece. Yes, I would love to go to Greece. That is part of the plan. As many of you know, I was an oracle, and there are many of you who are oracles because they had oracles for thousands of years. So many of you were probably oracles as well. So yeah, that would be really lovely to go back to Delphi and do some layers of healing there. Kat says, you were cleansed by the Holy Grail and came out burning hot. It was really cool, actually. As we were going through our Akashic records about that Templar lifetime, I was asking about some of the relics we were guarding, and they were like, yes, there was a box. Adriana was describing a box about yay big, and they said that there were fragments of Mary Magdalene's skull, and there was a whole bunch of stuff. Like there was a bunch of gold artifacts and a whole bunch of things that were inside this box. And we were entrusted to guard the box. And so there were like 7 of us that were kind of very closely protecting it until the Vatican made it through the lines, and we were basically surrounded by those 20,000 troops. And so there were 3 of us that snuck out with the box to go and hide it somewhere and bury it somewhere. And those artifacts still have not been found to this day. So obviously my brothers hid it very well. I was not one of the 3 that escaped, so I didn't know. I stayed behind to fight. So I'm not one of the 3 that knew where these artifacts were hidden, but my brothers did know. And they must have hid it well, you guys, because I don't think they found it, or at least they haven't told us if they have. So all of this happened on 9/9, like the going to Mount Sigur and all of that. 9 is the number of completion, right? So we're just kind of like moving through different layers of healing so we can complete the cycle of healing and move into our true power, stand in our power. And so I feel, and then come back to the States after all of this, and I see all the trauma that's occurred while I've been gone. And it was just, it's so much, you guys. I get it. It's like riding a roller coaster. It really is. Some of us, we have days where we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the other days where we're screaming as we're going down in vibration. So it's like doing this, but it's actually doing this. It may seem like this, but the vibrations are actually doing this. Okay. They're going up. I promise you. In fact, I asked the guides, I'm like, how much have these 2 tragedies, the girl on the train and then that guy, I don't want to say his name because of the censors. How much has that truly affected the vibration of the collective, especially because so many people actually got to witness it? And they said, not that much. Our vibration is holding very strong. In fact, that's why they're doing things like this. That's why they want to trigger so much trauma and fear and just anxiety for the entire collective, because we're doing this and they are panicking. So they're playing dirty, as they always have. But these things are shifting. We're making changes. We are actually like changing the world one day at a time. And I truly believe like things are shifting for the better. And I said something to Zach about it last night, and he said, well, there are a lot of people who are leaving right now. There are a lot of people who cannot handle the high frequencies. There's a lot of people who are not ready for all of that. Do you think everybody is ready to see beasties as they're walking around? No, a lot of people are still kind of stuck in the old world. And if that is the case, then many of us are still going to be kind of stuck in 3D because they're not ready to move on to the next level yet. They're still fighting amongst themselves. So for those of you who are holding the light, who are, doing everything you can to be optimistic and are working on healing, I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for all the hard work you're putting in, because we're all exhausted, and I feel you on that. And I know how frustrating it can be when you see all of these good things happening and then they come in and do some horrible shit and everybody kind of regresses a little bit. But we are getting stronger and we are winning. We're kicking their ass energetically. And that's why they're playing dirty. So if you just think about how many people are shifting and awakening right now, they're everywhere. Even my mom has said she's going to stop watching the news now. And I'm like, yay, see, progress is being made. Now, see, Joanne said you're very fortunate your plane wasn't sacrificed on your way home. I absolutely refuse to live in fear of anything like that. And I asked my guides, I'm like, if I were to die tomorrow, would I get to go home? Yeah, you've already done the work. You would get to go home. Fantastic. No fear. There's absolutely nothing they could do to me. Even if they were to take me out completely, I would just be working my ass off in the astral too. So I have no fear for anything like that. I absolutely refuse. It's not in my realm of possibility. In fact, there are infinite timelines available to us. Infinite. And when you have a spirit team that is, really looking out for you, they make sure that you're not going to end up in one of those horrible timelines anyway. I literally have Yeshua hanging out with me. You think I worry about these things? Hell no. I got friends in very high places. But that also means that I'm not going to be stupid. Somebody asked me this morning if I'm going to cross over Charlie. Nope. I'm keeping my head in the trench. Nope. I stay out of the politics. I stay out of the political arena because I'm not stupid. So there's different, like I said, we do what we can with what we've got. And there is zero fear involved whatsoever. Doesn't mean I'm not being cautious. And that's why I'm not going to do dumb shit that I know would be dumb. But this is why I say, our guides, our spirit team, they're looking out for each and every single one of us. And I'm telling you, you guys are more protected than you think. And you have to trust in that protection. You have to truly believe that you are safe and protected. And don't go thinking about things that you don't want to manifest. Remember, because if you focus on things that you don't want, then that's what you're going to put your energy into manifesting. So you keep the vibe high and you focus on your highest timeline, and you will send yourself to that highest timeline. So I truly believe I'm safe and protected, and therefore I am. The minute you doubt your psychic protection, that's when all the shit can come into it's like when you lower your field. You've got like a shield of protection around you. And if you truly believe in that shield of protection, you strengthen it. And if you doubt it, if you don't believe it, if you think, oh, that shit is bullshit, then it's not going to work. Of course it's not going to work. Your belief is what manifests everything. So if you don't believe, it's not going to work. So you got to be your own little Tinkerbell cheerleader and be like, I believe. Speaking of psychic protection, though, thank you to Charisse for putting it up on my website. I will be teaching a psychic protection course. I'm starting my line of classes over again. The first one that I have set up is for the September 20th, which I will copy right now. For those of you who have not taken my psychic protection and spiritual hygiene class, I highly recommend. So there's my sign up for my psychic protection and spiritual hygiene class. That will be on September 20th. After that, we have Reiki 2. That will be on October 4th. Miss Kara and I will be teaching that. Love you, Kara. And then we have on October 18th, we will have the next astral projection class, the advanced astral projection class. That'll be October 18th. On November 1st, after I get back from doing clearings in Salem, we've got a bunch of us doing a ghost busting tour in Salem. That's going to be fun. On November 1st, we will be doing SRT 1 again. And then about a month after that, we'll be doing SRT 2. Kat and I are also going to be doing a gridding class, but we haven't even started that. I'm looking at you, Kat. I'm giving you the side eye as to when we're going to do that gridding class. Kat's got a busier schedule than I do. It's like herding cats to work with Kat. So for those of you who are interested in psychic protection, I highly recommend signing up for that class because psychic protection is one of the most empowering things that you can learn. I'll be teaching you guys how to do self-clearing as well and a whole bunch of other stuff. So for those of you who would like to kind of boost your ability to protect yourself, I highly recommend joining us for that. It's also on my website. If you go to astrallara.com, you will go to services. And then if you look at services, there's classes and courses. Thank you for holding space for me today while I tell you about all these crazy experiences I had while I was away for 2 weeks. There's more to it. There's a lot more that I'll remember as I'm kind of like I said, it was a whirlwind. It has been crazy the last 2 weeks. So I'm still kind of like processing everything. And the fact that all the guides are like looking at me, they're like, wow, Lara, you've changed. And I'm like, yeah. Diane said, is this material the same as the older class or is there anything new? I add something new for every single class that I do. Doesn't matter which one it is. All of them get new material. Not a lot of new material, but as I learn things, I make notes. As the guides give me new advice, I make notes. You want to hear a cool one? So I'll just give you a freebie. So I was feeling like shit. I went to the airport. Some of my friends had to be at the airport at like 6 a.m., but my flight wasn't until 10. So I had 2 hours to kill where I basically just went and took a nap in the parking lot at the airport. And so as I'm napping, I wake up 2 hours later and I felt sick as a dog. I felt like my head was weird. Like I had like this pressure on my head. I felt like I was really ungrounded and dizzy. I had pain in the back of my head and I just felt really off. And you know what's funny? My first thought is, wow, what is that? I wonder if I'm not sovereign. And then my second thought was, oh no, you're sovereign. You're just tired. You didn't sleep very well and you're not very well hydrated. You haven't been eating breakfast. You didn't do this or that. So maybe that's why you're yeah, it's definitely the fact that you're dehydrated and you didn't sleep. So I gaslighted myself for 2 hours until it started to get worse, until it started to get really dizzy. And I was like, there's something going on here. So I texted Carolyn because she was the only one awake at that hour. It was like 8 a.m. her time. And I'm like, Carolyn, can you check me, please? I feel awful. And she checked me. She's like, yeah, there's a Lizzie. I'm like, I fucking knew it. I should have known. But they did. That's what they do. They'd be like, no, you're just tired. You know, and I gaslighted myself immediately. Or should I say, I let the Lizzie gaslight me and tell me that I'm fine and I'm just tired. So sure enough, he did get me good, actually, the little sucker. My energy levels plummeted. So as I'm feeling this way, Carolyn tells me, well, Yeshua is checking on you. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Yeshua. Like blowing him kisses and stuff. I'm like, thank you. I feel better already. And she said, Yeshua says to visualize yourself as a big golden sun. As you're walking through the airport, visualize yourself as a big golden sun radiating that beautiful light from source. And as anything comes close to you, whether it's an earthbound or anything that comes close, just visualize them getting burned as they try and touch your etheric field. You're too hot to handle, so to speak. And I was like, ooh, that's a good one. So I did. I was like walking through the airport. I'm like, I'm on fire. I kept singing it to myself as I'm walking through the airport. I was like, I'm glowing. I'm glowing. Like, just pretending to like shoot off rays of energy as I'm walking through. And I'm like, okay, I feel better now. And so, yeah, it actually worked. So thank you, Carolyn, for that wonderful tip. Thank you, Yeshua. Because I was working that as I was going through the airport. So there you go. Anytime you have to go through an area where you're like, yeah, this shit's like, you feel like you're going through a Lizzie nest. Oh my God. So this is a good example of it, right? So we decided to go to Spain for the day. So we drove. I mean, we're in southern France anyway. So we're like, cool, let's go to Spain. So I'm driving up like this crazy mountain pass. And I took a cool little selfie of myself as we're going up on this mountain pass. And I posted it. And as we were like kind of like coming up along this crazy like I mean, really, like the switchbacks on that mountain were insane. And so we were driving through, and as we crossed the old border for Spain, we get to the top of the mountain, and there, I'm telling you, I smelled Lizzie's instantly. I was like, oh God, like, I was like, do something quick. And Kat was like, bubbling up. She put a big shield around the car, and I was like, no, there's something not good here. And so as we're driving past the border, we felt so weird, right? That was the huge nest. And so we're driving. I'm like, I can see them in my mind's eye as we're driving along this like narrow passway. There were Lizzies lining the side of the road at the border crossing, waiting to jump on people's cars as they go through. And they tried to jump on ours. It's a good thing I could smell the fuckers. Like, I knew it immediately. So sure enough, we ended up clearing out the nest. I'm like, get them, guys, and they end up clearing it. We go through the whole town. And we felt sick as a dog going through that town. There was something about that town where we were just like, oh my God. So I asked the guides, I was like, what is so dark about this town? Like, why do I smell so many Lizzies? And they, you know what the first word that pops into my fucking head was? Trafficking. I was like, oh no. Like, as soon as we crossed into Spain, that was the first word that popped into my head as I was asking why the town was so dark. They said trafficking in my head. And I was like, oh man. Okay. So there was, I mean, we cleared out a massive nest. Taylor said, what do they smell like? To me? All right. So have you ever forgotten your laundry in the wash for a few days? And they have like this musty, mildewy smell. That's how they smell to me. They do. They smell like musty funkiness. Yeah, they smell kind of moldy in a way, but yeah, I don't know how to describe it. But I know that smell immediately now. So yeah, they do. They smell like old laundry. If you ever owned a snake or a reptile, then they kind of smell like that. If you ever had a pet reptile, I had a pet snake. They don't really smell too bad. But if you have smaller ones and they haven't cleaned their cage in a while, that's kind of how they smell too. That moldy, nasty, funky, I don't even know. It's like you'll recognize it when you get used to it. They do not smell nice. There's other ones that smell too. That's the funny thing about your senses. Like we all have different senses. You get like clairaudience, clairvoyance, be able to see and hear. You get the clairgustance. I think that's clairgustance when you can smell. So I have clairgustance. I can smell the fuckers. I would rather be able to see and hear them personally, but we work our way up. Those are the ones you usually get last. Usually you can smell them before you can see them. What about if you forgot something in the refrigerator for a minute? That's more what the hybrids smell like. Hybrids to me smell like hot trash. Have you ever taken your trash out like after it's been sitting in the sun for a week? That is how the hybrids smell to me. And grays smell even worse. Cat's right. Grays smell like rotting meat. They do, because they're dying. I asked why they smell like rotting meat, and the guides were like, well, they're dying. They're literally like The Walking Dead, some of them. Lynn says, I smelled that smell yesterday like a rodent nest. Yes, exactly. Like a rodent nest, but with mildew mixed in. Exactly. Yes, that is how the Lizzie smelled to me. So anytime you smell something like that, it was kind of funny. I had one client that was like, I cleared a nest of like these the nasty hybrid ones, like the stinky ones. We call them the stinky hybrids or the trash pandas. We call them those. I told the client, I put it in their report that there was a stinky hybrid in their house. And the client got back to me like the next day and they were like, Lara, I have been chasing a smell around my house all week. Like for like a month. They were like, every time I would go into a room, like a certain corner of the room would smell really bad. So I would get my spray and I'd be like, spraying like that corner. And then the smell would move to a new corner. And I laughed my ass off when I read her email. Could you imagine? Like, you can't see these entities, right? So you go into the living room and you're like, oh, what's that smell? And you like take a can of Lysol and you just spray the little beastie in the face with the Lysol. And he's like, and he moves to another spot in the house. So you're like chasing him around the house, spraying him with stuff, and you don't even know what you're spraying. So that really cracked me up. Sprays Glade right into the Lizzie's eyes. Exactly, Michelle. But for the record, the smell that the Lizzies hate the most, they absolutely hate rose oil and sage. Rose and sage will clear them out. They absolutely can't stand it. Frankincense too, which makes me kind of laugh. And I'm like, if you think about it, right? They gave Jesus, or I should say Yeshua, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Well, gold, because, I mean, if you think about it, us star seeds are always broke. We're us star seeds. We don't understand monetary wealth. So that was really generous of them to give Yeshua some gold, just saying. But the frankincense and the myrrh, those are for protection. We still use those for psychic protection to this day. So not only did they give, Jesus some money, but they actually gave him some things that would protect him from entities. Kind of makes you wonder if that was the original intention. It's 11:11. Yay. Yes. So if you guys keep rose oil in a diffuser next to the bed, wonderful. Because if something wakes me up in the middle of the night, especially if I wake up between 1 and 4 a.m., usually around 3 a.m., we call that the witching hour. I call that the beastie hour now. I'm like, if something wakes me up at 3 a.m., I'm like, who dat? And then I go and hit my button. I have an electronic diffuser next to my bed. I just hit my button and it starts pumping sage, frankincense, and rose right into the room. I'm like, I will choke you out. Think I won't. I will choke you out and go back to bed. So this is all about empowerment. You don't need to have, you can call in your spirit team. But honestly, if you're being messed with, if you're standing in your power, you just push a button and send them on their fucking way. They also hate Krishna flute music, as I've mentioned many times. They can't stand Krishna flute music. So if you think you're dealing with a bunch of Lizzies, keep that on your playback. So you can annoy the shit out of them as well. Which is funny because we went around Rennes Chateau and I was like, where's all the Lizzies at? Because I can smell them, but I can't sense them. They're like, oh, they're all in the tunnels. And I was like, why are they in the tunnels? And they were like, well, there's greys running around. There were greys that we cleared from that Merovingian castle. So I was like, how come the greys are up top, but the Lizzies are all in the tunnels? And you know what they told me? Bells. They have a church bell that rings every 30 minutes. And then on the hour, at the top of the hour, it rings depending on how many, what time it is. So the bells, the church bells are always ringing in Rennes Chateau. The Lizzies can't stand church bells. They don't like it. So they all hide in the tunnels instead, so they don't have to listen to the bells. So you can sincerely annoy them away from you, funnily enough. Or you can make your own sprays and stuff. I have one. I have a spray that I made. I keep it in these little bottles here. You can make your own little sprays. This one has sage, cinnamon, and a few other things in there. I'm getting into making my holiday sprays for people. Put sea salt by the front door on the northeast corner. I usually put them in the four corners. I put them in little bowls. You can get little bowls of sea salt and put them around. Just make sure you change them out once a week. Any sea salt that you put around your house, change it out once a week. Because it will absorb all the funky energy from the space. And when you throw it out, don't touch it. Don't touch the salt as you throw it out. These are the kind of tips that I will be sharing in my Psychic Protection and Spiritual Hygiene course for next Saturday. So if you have not taken that class yet, I highly recommend it. It really does wonderful things about self-empowerment. And so you guys don't have to pay me for clearings. I would prefer it that way. Right now, I'm focusing on helping the community, but it would be really nice if the community helped themselves so I could branch out and help people more in that are veterans or homeless people or, medical staff and all of that. I would much prefer to be doing the big stuff. If you guys were able to kind of handle things on your own. So that is the point of self-empowerment, to be able to give yourself your own cleansing shower and not need one of the guides to do it for you. My client's salt turned gray after one night. She had a hybrid nest in her house. Oh, I can imagine. That'll do it for sure. Jessica said, us students are excited to help you clear the load. Yes, that is one of the things I'm working on. I need a tech person to help me kind of revamp some things on Astara so that way we will be able to have Astara clearings as well. I have not been giving my students my cases because you pay me for a clearing, you expect me to do it. So I have that responsibility myself. But at some point very soon, we will be setting up Astara clearings so that way you guys can go and book a clearing on Astara. And one of my friends and mediums will be able to do that clearing for you. But as beautiful Candy has said, we need more mediums. So yes, there's quite a few of you who are in training right now, and not just you, but soul guides are in training. So as we kind of do more of this psychic protection and spiritual hygiene stuff, your soul guides, will start to come in stronger. And then you'll be able to connect with them easier through your mediumship. And as your mediumship develops, as soon as you're able to connect to your guides and hear your guides, I don't even mean like physically hear them, but just being a sense of what they're telling you, you'll be able to do clearings with us. So there are quite a few people who are building their way up to that. And I am just so excited for what's happening in the future, because I would much rather be focusing on, like I said, clearing out whole towns and cities like we have recently in France. Elga says they send me songs. I hear a lot of songs too. Like random songs will pop into my head and I'll be like, who just played that? Like, who just put that in my head? So if you guys talk to your spirit guides on a daily basis, every morning you should say to them, good morning. I say that to my guides. I have Charlie. I say, good morning, Charlie. Charlie is my companion guide. I say good morning to Fergus. Fergus is my gatekeeper. Thank you, Fergus, for looking out. He's my bouncer, so to speak. I have Galus. Galus is one of my guides who's helping me with kind of embracing my feminine side a bit more, because I've always been a bit of a tomboy. So she's helping with that, as well as also helping me to kind of heal and reintegrate things. And she's doing wonderful things when we do clearings as well. Galus has been helping a lot with healing people's witch wounds. Thank you, Galus. Love you. And so, these are just my 3 people that I have with me, but there's others that come in. You have loved ones that come and go. You have other friends that, from other lifetimes that are very curious about what you're doing that you don't even know about. So your team in spirit is huge. And the more you talk to them, the more they communicate back, either through thoughts in your head or synchronicity or seeing angel numbers and signs. So the more you ask for signs and symbols, the more you'll start to see them. Rochelle says, I feel like my whole town needs a massive clearing. It's very old and lots of earthbounds. Oh, I know. The older the town, the more the earthbounds there are. And there's so many different layers as well. Like for a less experienced medium, you'll walk in and be like, okay, I think there's a couple earthbounds here. But they don't realize there's more trapped in the layers. There's more trapped in the layers. There's some trapped in what we call death loops. There's some that are stuck in dark voids. So as you go into a space, if you're not aware of all those other layers, you're not going to cross them all over. You'll go in thinking, maybe there's like such and such. Like, for example, there's this one town, right, in France that I found out about. And they had a hotel called Le Prison Hotel. And it caught my attention. I was like, the prison hotel, what does that even mean? So I go and look on it online, and they renovated a prison to the point where they didn't even remove the cells. They literally left the bars on the windows and everything. I fucking kid you not. Where it's a prison that was built in the early 1800s and that have had thousands of people that were held as prison and even executed on the site. And people can rent a room there and go and sleep in one of the cells. And the cells are exactly the same, like bars and everything. It straight up looked like a scene from Oz, but with better bedding. Okay? Like, what the hell? So I go in there and I'm checking it out. We found 2,000 earthbounds in there, trapped in the layers, trapped in the different layers that were, through the time layers and all kinds of shit. So there were over 2,000 earthbounds in that one hotel. And I'm like, oh my God. Victoria says there's a prison hotel in Boston. No way. Well, we're going to Boston to do clearing. You hear that, Kat? Oh, Kat, me too. She says that clearing with Zach was one of my favorites to clear. Honestly, I'm still blown away. I'm going to have to save that recording. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to go back and save that in my Zoom so it won't auto-delete after 30 days, because that is a recording to keep forever, for sure. And there's a lot going on there. Oh yeah, Amy, the wine cave. So there was a wine cave not far from where we were staying, and every time we drove past the wine cave, which was ironically right across the street from an old cemetery. So you have the cemetery, you have this tiny little strip of a road, and then you have wine caves that go deep underground filled with wine. And we're like, there's just something, every time we drove through there, like on that little road in between the two, I felt sick as a dog. And I was like, oh, that is not good. So sure enough, we check out the tunnels and we check out the cemetery, and there was a nasty hybrid thing there, like a demonic insectoid hybrid. I know how that sounds. That's what we found. In my head, it kind of looked like a deformed praying mantis, kind of. I don't know if that was accurate or not. I didn't validate it, but that is exactly how I saw it. And I asked, what was it doing? Like, what's it doing in the cave? And they said, affecting the vibration of all the wine that comes out of the cave. Everybody that drank the wine there would be affected by the entity. And it was lower there. It would affect their vibration and all their consciousness, a whole bunch of stuff. And it was very old. Like, we're talking thousands of years old. This is the thing. When you go into old areas, where you go into areas where humans have lived for thousands of years, you find some freaky shit. I'm just saying. Really freaky shit. So we cleared it all out, of course. It was harassing the Earthbounds too. Like, those poor Earthbounds. It's bad enough to be dead and stuck somewhere, but you got to be chased around the lower astral by some freaky insect beastie. No, thank you. Rochelle said there are tunnels under the whole town as well, kind of which the monks built. They were all killed. I got pins and needles all over my body. The town that we cleared, there were 7,000 people that hung out in this one church. 7,000 people were huddled in the church, trying to hide from the Crusaders, and the Crusaders went and annihilated every single last one of them. They even killed the priests who were at the altar. When they were doing that Cathar extermination, yeah. So you wonder how we got so many Earthbounds. They've been stuck for 800 fucking years. Oh, sorry for my expletives, but this shit triggers me. 800 years they were stuck. Even the priests, they even slaughtered the priests of their own religion. That just goes to show how psycho they were as they were going from town to town slaughtering Cathars. And this is all like, oh, it's been 800 years. This is old news. No, the Vatican's still profiting from what they did. All of the land that they took from the Cathars, they still fucking have to this day. So don't even get me started like about the shit that the Vatican, basically were able to accumulate due to their absolute heinous bloodshed. It was genocide. Kat says, not anymore. They're all on the other side now. Hell yeah, girlfriend. We were laughing about how badly backed up the lions are going to be for crossing over right now because, like, each soul that crosses over needs to be processed. It needs to be kind of gone through this healing. So we back up the system a little bit. Their booking system kind of looks like my booking system right now as we're working through this. We're keeping them busy on the other side, aren't we, Kat? Love it. I can't wait for our ghost busting tour. We're going to be doing a clearing for a couple days in Salem. I'm not going to tell you guys where because I don't want them to know. I'll tell you after the fact. But we are going to Salem to do some ghost busting, and we'll be doing some around Boston and Gloucester and a few other places. Leanne says it's difficult to not be angry at the church when you learn the truth. Exactly. But this is why I'm working through layers of healing. Like, we're going through the 12 stages of grief as we do these clearings. So we're already kind of forgiving people, like that Black Pope, for example, right, Kat? It's kind of funny how these things work, isn't it? So anyway, any questions? I hope you guys are all feeling better today after the clearing that the guides did. Thank you to Zach and Steve and all the other wonderful guides that we have hanging out with us this morning. Love you, Yeshua. Love you, Siddhartha. Thank you for popping in, both of you. Can we spend a moment sending love and energy to all the children? Sure, we can send it. Honestly, we should send it to everybody today. You guys want to do that really quick? All right. In fact, I'm going to light a candle as well. I got a new candle while I was in France. So I'm going to light the candle for all of our fallen loved ones and everybody that is going through trauma right now. So I invite you guys to light a candle for them today as well. We're keeping the light strong. You guys are feeling better. Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. All right. So visualize. Let's just do a quick little guided meditation before I go. Okay. All right. Because there's 130 people watching right now. So that's 130 times that we're amplifying this energy. Okay. Leslie said, well, if you don't ask for certain things and you don't get it, Leslie, you have to ask. This is why your guides are not allowed to clear you unless you ask. It's a silly rule. I know. Don't get me started. So it's one of those things where if you don't ask, you don't get. And also, if you leave it for too long, then your guides are pushed out and they can't help you, even if they wanted to. Even you can ask all day, and if your guides have been kicked out the door, they can't help you. So everybody visualize that beautiful golden light coming in from source. That light is flowing down into your crown chakra. See it as a beautiful pillar of golden light. As that energy moves through your heart chakra, moves through your crown chakra, it's moving down in through all of your other chakras, powering them up. You see all that golden energy flowing through all of your chakras, especially into your heart chakra. See that golden energy flowing around you and forming a bright light around your etheric field. See that light glowing like the sun. Make it brighter and brighter. You can even see that light is getting blue in the center like you normally would with a very strong flame. Okay, so take that light, bring it all to your heart chakra. Power up your heart chakra. See your heart chakra glowing, that beautiful pink or green light. And you can send that light to whoever you want. You can visualize a certain group in your head or a person, or you can even just see the collective. And you can see the collective as you visualize Gaia. So just have the earth in your mind. See the earth in your mind's eye. And see all of that golden light pouring over the earth, like bright light, like liquid golden light pouring all over the earth. That light is going to everybody who needs it right now. Visualize it like you're encasing the entire earth in gold, like a web of golden light that spreads all around the earth. And you're sending all of that love to the whole collective right now. We ask that Yeshua and Siddhartha help us to make sure that golden light goes to everybody who truly needs it today. Next, see yourself in that golden light. Just see that golden light pouring over you. See it like a shower of golden light pouring all over you, making sure that you glisten and sparkle in the light, and everything that is dark, everything that no longer serves you, is washing away. You can visualize it just washing away as a puddle of black mud just washing off of you. See those golden roots that you have growing deep down into the earth? See those roots extending from each of your chakras as you anchor yourself in Gaia's loving frequency. And take some of that beautiful golden light as it pours through your etheric, send it down into those roots and send it to Gaia. See all that gold passing through the roots, going down into the core of the earth. Is anchoring you in Gaia's frequency, and it is sending some of that beautiful golden light of source straight to Gaia herself. And just take a moment to do some breathing. Visualize yourself as that bright golden sun that Yeshua told us about. And just hold everybody in that warm embrace. Trust that you are safe, that you are protected, and that you are loved because you are. All right. And step back into your body whenever you're ready. Beautifully done, you guys. I love you all so much. It's so good to be home. I feel like home when I'm hanging out with you guys, no matter where that may be. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to come on for the last 2 weeks, but like I said, the time differences and things got a little crazy. So it's really good to be back and to be a part of this community. I just want to tell you guys how much I love you, and I hope you all know it. So keep that golden light flowing through you today. And remember, anything that touches your etheric that isn't welcome, just visualize it burning its finger. on your bright golden light. Okay? Any Lizzie that's going to come near you today, you're going to be like, psst, ow, ow, ow. They won't be able to touch you. Okay? Mwah. I love you guys more than I could ever put it into words.